all the projects, but I'm not supposed to get in very deep. But at the same time, I'm not supposed to be so far away from any of it. So how do you do both? And part of it is when I say, how are things going? Oh, they're great. Really? How?
Yeah.
And we'll get into it. And they'll say, well, here's what I need. I said, well, but what do you want me to do? Because I've got to go check on these other 13 things. I've got time, but you got to tell me. And people, they don't think you're putting it on them. It's that empowerment. I mean, now you have to follow through. You can't be the kind of person that just doesn't want to work with them. But those really are just great questions, as opposed to
sure,
I'm going to tell you what to do later. Because whenever I take control of something like that, I never get back to them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love about what you're pointing to, Dave, is the importance of kind of presence and tone. Because you can actually ask, so how can I help in a sarcastic way? Or so what do you want from me in a way that is like not useful, not beneficial to the whole conversation. But if you show up with a kind of good heart, and I know this sounds a bit touchy-feely, but when you ask people, tell me a time when you were well coached, having a good heart counts for a lot. That sense of, I am on your side. I'm with you, not against you. So that sense of, I'm genuinely curious. I'm genuinely trying to be helpful. I'm genuinely on your side takes you a long way down the path. And knowing that any one of the 7 questions we talk about in the Coaching Habit book, you can ask in a kind of heartless, sarcastic, disengaged sort of way that will make sure that they don't work. But ask them with a degree of intention and presence and heartfulness, that they'll actually land most times.
Oh, without a doubt. And you mentioned, that tone. Well, early on you talked about playing the roles in that triangle of victim and so forth.
Yeah.
That's an empathy exercise. And again, as awful as that sounds in the world of management, big business, that's essential. That really, nobody likes to work for a tough boss. They'll talk about it later on, all the horrible things that happened to us in our childhood. Ha ha ha. That was really great. But it's not fun when it's happening. And we all know that nobody's really working hard except to somehow get enough power to get away from that boss. When there are great results, I've worked like in 50 through 50,000 people, and I think that's when you see those results, it's fear, but people just want to give themselves power to get away from that person. They are not looking to make that manager look good.
So one of the things I read recently I thought was fascinating. Do you ever see a video about, I want to just say the name, The Invisible Gorilla? Have you seen that video?
No.
Doesn't mean anything to you. It's a cool psychological exercise about paying attention. And if you Google Invisible Gorilla, set yourself up for the test, you'll kind of get what it's about. And the guy who is the scientist behind that has kind of moved on to a different topic, away from attention and on to what makes for a smart team. And, that's something that if you're a manager, if you're a leader, if you're a senior executive, if you're on a team, you should care about. And you almost know immediately that the answer isn't to add more smart people onto the team. It feels like that's the nice linear explanation. If you want a smarter team, make sure there are smarter people on the team, and it will become a smarter team. But in fact, that's not what makes for a smarter team. There are 3 factors that make for a team to be better at its job, to be smarter, and therefore more productive, have more impact. The first measure is the amount of voice every member of that team gets in conversation. So this is really important, particularly if you're a leader of a team, which is, who are we hearing from? The more we get to hear from everybody, the smarter this team becomes. And it puts paid to this assumption that, the leader is the smart person. The leader gets to make all the decisions. If we just listen to the leader, she'll tell us what to do and we should be right. The second, and this is what made me think of it, Dave, is the degree of empathy that's in the team. is there a sense of kind of connection and a sense of shared understanding of an experience? So being able to increase that. And here's the cool thing, being more coach-like, asking the questions that are in the coaching habit and elsewhere are going to help both of those drivers, 2 of the 3 drivers, to be a smarter team. The third driver I can't help you with, because the third driver is make sure more women are on the team. And the scientist behind this is like, so I'm not sure why this is the case. I'm not sure what this is, a correlation or a connection or what it is exactly, but there's a definite indication that teams with more women are smarter teams. Now, what's good for me is Box of Crayons, which is a team of about 30 people all up, probably 25 of those people are women. So I'm just a smarter person because I'm surrounded by empathetic women who all like to have a share of voice in conversation. So that helps us.
Well, and I'll support that, not just because I live with 5 women who are within ear distance of me right now, but I would support that because and I'm in a technical field in the day job, so engineering's seen more as men, but in the last 20 years, definitely a lot of women in the field.
Sure.
However, as civil engineering has gotten closer to environmental, you see many more women in a leadership role and excelling technically, and those mixed teams, so I would say for the last 15 years, we've been pretty much 50-50 mixed, and those always work better. In fact, you can even see the group dynamics. So within a group of 12 people, if you see whether it's just 2 guys or even 2 women, I think the combination is helpful to keep it going. But there is something, and I don't know if it is because they're more empathetic or because I don't know what it is either, but it simply works.
No, nobody does quite yet. So, I mean, this is the point this guy is making, which is let's not leap to any conclusions yet because we're not quite sure why this is the case. But there is definitely data that points that way.
Yeah. In fact, I was just I do some mentoring actually by remote control, and I got a new mentor today, and she sends me a message, says these are all people that want to go to college, their first generation, their family, and she said, I want to be a civil engineer. I said, great, that's what I do. And she said, are there women involved? And I said, yes. And let me tell you, they're among the best in the field that I work with. I said, this is really wide open and so forth. So and yeah, I didn't have details for except to say, you got to be kidding me, you're questioning that? Because that's, we all know that in our group, that it's they contribute as much or more than anybody.
Of course.
Yeah. So let's see, we're down to about 5 minutes here. 7 minutes.
I know, and I know you're on the schedule. You sketched out some ideas, and we're at minute 7 of the interview, so we've gone way off track.
Well, and that, you know what? Actually, we've covered a lot more than you think, but that is what I love about the show here is it just goes where it needs to. I would like to have also people know about your other book, Do More Great Work. Right.
Well, actually, I've the Coaching Habit is my 5th book. So I've got a bunch of books out there, but you're right, Do More Great Work is kind of my other big seller. I'm going to mention one of the other books just because I'm proud of it. It's called End Malaria, and it's something that I did with Seth Godin about 6 years ago now. And it's a collection of people, 70 people, thought leaders, big names, writing around the concept of doing more great work, so connecting to the book we're about to talk about. And what was cool is all the money raised from the book, not just the profit, but actually all the revenue went to Malaria No More. So it's a way of actually literally ending malaria, and we raised about $400,000 for that project. So that was super cool. But Do More Great Work, which is the book you asked about, it starts off with this foundational insight that everything that you do in work and beyond work falls into one of 3 different buckets. It's either bad work, good work, or great work. So bad work, good work, or great work. And the very fast definitions of each type of work there. Bad work is, I'm going to be blunt here, because what we're talking about is not quality, but impact. That's the measure, not quality, but impact. So bad work is the kind of life-sucking, soul-sucking, heart-breaking work that makes you go, oh my goodness, this is my one and precious life, and I'm somehow doing this. What is going on? Good work is your job description. So productive, efficient, getting things done, what your boss and what your boss's boss want you to do. So an important part of the mix for sure, but typically takes up too much space in the ideal mix because there's always more good work to be done. It's kind of never ending. And the other challenge with good work is because you've basically mastered it, good work can keep you a little bit stuck in a comfortable rut. Because you're busy, you're overwhelmed, there's always more good work to be done. But it's no longer quite stretching you and growing you the way it used to. And then great work is the work that has more impact and the work that has more meaning. So impact is it makes a difference in the world. Meaning is it lights you up, it matters to you, it speaks to who you are and the dent you want to make in this universe. And in a perfect world, you're finding the sweet spot between impact and meaning in the work that you do and in the attention that you give it.
Well, I think that's perfectly said, because that's the whole point of the show. What I do is it's called making the play to make work feel like play. It's not the easy way out, but when you make the change, you're going to feel a little guilty when you start doing it right. I know I was actually feeling guilty about how I was just walking around in the last 6 months in my office talking to people, not necessarily about the football game, sometimes that came up, but checking on them, and they'd find me and ask their questions, and things are getting done, yet I'm not bringing work home.
Right.
I'm able to check in from my phone with an email here and there, what's going on. And it really is, it's so counterintuitive to way, especially with the American work ethic of you got to suffer, baby. They call it work for a reason and all that type of stuff. It's, everyone, I really do recommend this. And how about, as we're winding down here, can you give them basically where they can find the website, and as well as also, can you, you talked about doing great work. You did a video which was really great, walking down the street, where it was talking about how many great projects you have time for in your life. The motivation to, hey, I only want to do great things. Can you also tell people where to find that video?
Sure, I think I can. Where can you find that video? Let me tell you where I can find some of the other stuff first. So if you're interested in the Coaching Habit book, thecoachinghabit.com is where you'll find a webpage about it. There's a ton of downloads there, so videos to watch, chapters to download. So honestly, you don't even need to really buy the book to get most of it from that webpage alone. But if you want to buy the book on Amazon or at a bookstore, of course, Do More Great Work has its own page as well, domoregreatwork.com. So you can go there, and again, chapters to download, worksheets to download, all sorts of free stuff that you can get. If you happen to be curious about our corporate training programs, and these programs are typically bought by organizations for their managers and leaders, boxofcrayons.com is the place for that. And then the final website, and there's a lot of them coming at you, I know, is my personal one called michaelbungaystanier.com, michaelbungaystanier.com. And there's not much of a website there. We're about to launch it in the new year, but there is an invitation to download an ebook on how to be courageous. And here's what I know. If you download that ebook, what will happen is in the first week of the new year, we send everybody who's on the mailing list a great work project template. So this is to say, look, if you want to do more great work, here's a cool tool to help you with that. And that's where you find that project video that you're talking about, Dave.
Excellent. And Evan, I really do recommend you do this. It's not going to be too hard to Google Box of Crayons. You'll find Michael Bungay Stanier's name. Again, whether you are swinging towards business, sports, life coaching, taking care of your household or a schoolroom, it's such a, like I say, it just seems like it shouldn't work. It seems so simple. I mean, it's really one of those. Like I say, I know I'm laying on thick here, but this was one that in the last 6 months, it has just made it so easy for me to get home on time and to know, each day is going as well as it could.